The biggest movie of this year, Kalki, is out in theatres. This movie has a place called The Complex in it where every Telugu person wants to get to. Which just made me wonder, why didn't they just call it USA instead? So this movie has been made on a whopping budget of 600 crore rupees and it aims to create a Kalki cinematic universe. So well, does it succeed and is it worth a watch? Let's go ahead and find out. So Kalki is basically a dystopian sci-fi movie set in 2898 AD. They show that there's this place called the Complex, which basically is super rich in all the resources and it's like the place to be and everyone wants to get there. Now, the bulk of the population in this movie stays in pretty much a wasteland which has very scarce resources, which is pretty much like a desert-like area. And there is this area called the Shambhala, which basically is supposed to be this place which has rich natural resources where people can access these and not go to the complex, but no one really knows how to get here. So the main characters are Prabhas as Bhairava, who is this basically like chill, loafer-like guy who just wants to, take bounty after bounty to, stack up on his tokens and eventually just get to the complex. Then we have Saswata Chatterjee as Commander Manas, who's basically the commander-in-chief of the complex. You've got Kamal Hassan as the Supreme, basically the head of the complex, pretty much the most powerful character right now in the story. You then have Deepika, who is a fertile woman who's used to bear a child in the complex. And you have Amitabh Bachchan playing Ashwathama, basically from the Mahabharata, who is cursed with a curse of immortality. And they say that he will awaken only when a certain event happens at some point in the future. There are also a lot of really important supporting actors in the movie, but I won't go to town talking about all of these right now. Also, on a side note, this movie literally has half of the Indian film industry in it in some sort of a cameo. But well, I won't ruin that for you either. So starting off with the technical aspects, the production design, cinematography, sound, BGM, costumes, makeup are all very good in this movie. They help create a unique world and don't ever break out of it. Now, speaking of production design, the movie did get into some plagiarism controversies where a South Korean concept artist by the name of Sung Choi said that a part of his illustration was used, or rather lifted, in this movie. Now take a look at these two images. Now looking at these two images, it's fairly clear that it's very, very similar. Also, you see elements from the likes of a Mad Max, Dune, Tron, Blade Runner, and other sci-fi dystopian movies that are out there in this movie. But still, having said all of this, the movie does a good job of portraying a very unique and different world. And also, it does a very good job at integrating Indian mythology with a sci-fi dystopian concept. The VFX as well is honestly good for the most part. There are a few sequences where the VFX is not up to the mark, but I would still say very good VFX in this movie. Now speaking of acting, every actor fits his or her part really well, well barring a few obviously, for example Disha Patni, but honestly even she isn't this bad in this movie. Also I feel Prabhas in his last few movies was a little lazy, but over here I think he's done a very good job. Also Deepika Padukone does a good job portraying the role she's been given. Also Amitabh Bachchan portrays his role of Ashwathama fairly well in this movie. His action scenes over here have been choreographed well, very different from what we saw, let's say, in Tugs of Hindustan, where it seemed a little out of place and unbelievable. There are also certain animation segments in this movie which have been executed very well as well. So having said that, I will admit that the movie's first half was not as good as the second half. The second half is much better than what the first half was, and actually towards the end sets up what's about to come really well as well. A good chunk of the first half just revolves around Prabhas trying to make his character look funny or cool or funky or just goofy in whatever way possible. They try to add a lot of humor over here, which oftentimes falls flat. All of this somewhat drags the film, and honestly even Prabhas' intro isn't that boss-like as compared to maybe, let's say, his climax sequence. I also felt there was a lot of technical jargon in the first half of the movie which might confuse the average viewer. Now having said that, the movie also had some dull moments and the climax scene was way too stretched out. Now still having said all of this, I feel the movie ends on a very high note. So on the whole, this is a very good attempt at a sci-fi dystopian Indian movie which is almost at par with Hollywood. The second half makes up for a somewhat slow and loose first half and sets up the stage for what's about to come. Comparing this to Brahmastra, I would say it's much better. So for this movie, on the B&B meter, I'm going ahead with 7 out of 10. Watch this movie for the effort the world created and to push Indian cinema forward in this direction. Do let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments, and hey, if you like this video, then do like and share it as well. And well, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more cool content. Thank you, and I'll see you very soon.